Okay. So now we've got all this. We got some data ready. We're ready to check it out to ArcPad, which is kind of one of the mobile versions of ArcGIS that are available for us. And ArcPad is pretty much designed just to run on Windows mobile or Windows-based tablets or PDA type devices. A lot of GPS receivers or collectors will be able to run ArcPad on it. So to get ready to check this data out, if you haven't done so already, we want to stop editing. From the editor toolbar, hit stop editing, and then do you want to save your edits? Yes. So one of the first things you want to do when you're getting ready to check data out is to zoom into the area that you are interested in collecting data on. So because a lot of the mobile devices are a lot less powerful than your desktop computer, you want to just focus on a particular area so that you're not checking out all of your data to this thing and trying to run this enormous aerial photograph on this little itty-bitty device. So a good way to do it is to just zoom in. You can do a couple of different things. You can use the magnifier to zoom into the area, and we're going to just focus on where we've drawn stuff here. Or you can do another really good way to do it is to select the boundary of the feature you're interested in. So a different way to select things is the Select Features tool here. You can click on that, and then you can click on your boundary so that it's highlighted. And then go to Selection menu at the top and hit Zoom to Selected Features. Oh, and because I've selected a couple other things, it zoomed all the way out to those. But that is one way to do it. If yours did that, you can hit the back arrow that will zoom to your previous view. Okay, so I'm going to use the Clear Selected Features button to get rid of my selection. So that looks like this. Okay, so to be able to get ready to check data out to ArcPad, there's a couple different steps we need to follow. One is under the Customize menu, you need to go to Extensions. And we need to turn on the ArcPad Data Manager extension if it's not on already. And extensions are different bits of different add-in pieces of software to ArcGIS that you can turn on and off, and by having them off, it makes it so that ArcGIS runs a little faster. But when you're going to use them, you want to turn those back on. So once you check that box, you hit Close. And then under Customize, do Toolbars, and then get ArcPad Data Manager toward the top. Oops. You can dock that, or you can leave it floating around, whatever you're comfortable with. And now in this ArcPad Data Manager window, actually, you know what we're going to do? I don't think we have saved our map yet, so let's do that. From File menu, do Save As. And I mentioned earlier that saving early and often is a good idea. And the most important thing with saving is that you're saving your edits. That's your actual changes to your data. When we save our map document, it's just basically saving what's in this layer, this table of contents here, and the view on our map. The changes to the data are all saved when we do the save editing from the editor toolbar. So when you hit Save As, go to Computer, and then go to thaw space, your T drive here, and then type in the file name box, any name that you like. I usually try to name it, fairly similar to the database I'm working with. So this one I'm going to name GIS for Public Gardens. And hit Save. And by saving this and giving it a name, it'll make this checkout process just a step easier. So. Okay, so from the Data Manager toolbar, the first button on the left is Get Data for ArcPad. Click on that guy, And it gives you a little description about how this little program is going to work and what it's going to do. You can skip that unless you'd like to read through it. Hit next, and then it gives us a list of all the layers that are in our table of contents, and it asks us which ones of these do we want to check out. And now you might want certain ones of these out in the field with you, but just keep in mind that any extra information that you take out with you is a little bit harder that your mobile device has to work, and sometimes when you're collecting data, you want things to work as fast as possible. So I generally try to take as little with me as I really need. So at the top of the list here, it has our plant center layer, and the action it says do not export. Now, if you click the little black arrow there, it gives you different options. And now we want to check out for disconnected editing in ArcPad. And then it gives you an option here is do you want to take the data based on the current extent that we're zoomed into, or do you want to take a blank data set with you? I usually take the blank data set because I'm usually going out to collect new things. But if you're going to go out and you want to update some stuff, you may want to take the data. So today we're just going to do schema only. Start with a blank data set. Your plant center didn't show up? It's not critical. We're going to collect. We're going to make some more. So. Oh, it didn't show up on that list, you mean? Ah, I see. I don't think it's. Yeah, I think it's missing from your list of layers. So they cancel and then I'll add it back in. Okay. So the next one we want to take with us is mass plantings because we may want to map some of those out there. So if you click on mass planting, oops, and then click the black arrow, we're going to do the same thing. Check out for disconnected editing in ArcPad, and we want schema only blank data set. And now I'm not really all that interested in the district or section boundaries or area of interest, or even the location of our sidewalks. We can see those in the photo. So I'm going to say do not export on those. I'm going to leave those here. And then we do want our aerial photograph because this is how we're going to be able to see where we are out in the garden. So we definitely want to take that. So on that layer, click Export Background as TIFF. And it has a couple different formats that you can pick here. JPEG 2000 is probably the smallest and most efficient format, but when I tried it last night, it didn't work, so we're going to go with TIFF. That one seemed to work. All right, has everyone gotten to this far here? You need a second? You good? Okay.
When we're setting this up, you want to make sure your action when you're checking it out that everything's either selected as schema only or.
Unless you want to take the data with you. If you want to see where your existing plants are when you're out there, then then you can select check out the data, and then it will actually take that out there, and you'll be able to see it on your screen.
I just wanted to know, should it all be uniform? You're going to select one and all these.
No, it does not need to be uniform. You can select each one differently. And you'll also see there's the option for background data. So say we wanted to take pavement segment with us. We want to see where our pathways are. If you click on that one, it has export as background data as an option. So we're not going to edit that while we're out there on this particular trip. So I would export that one as background data. And then you have the option to make it editable or read-only. And we're just going to do read-only, so you would select that. So you can select each one differently depending on what you want. And the ArcPad documentation will have a little bit more info about what each of these options means. But essentially, you're mostly interested in you're going to be doing editing on it, or it's going to be background data. Those are really your two main things to worry about. Any other questions on that?
A question, a general question. How is ArcPad different from ArcGIS?
You want to answer that one? There's quite a few, but.
So ArcPad is basically a self-contained program. It has more functionality than ArcGIS Mobile. ArcGIS Mobile is designed to work in conjunction with ArcGIS Server. So essentially, when you're working with ArcGIS Mobile, you're pretty much you need web connection of some sort because basically all the data is being stored inside a database in ArcGIS Server.
And that's the main reason that we're covering ArcPad today. Is it's the most versatile, and it also, if you're using a Trimble GPS unit, there is Trimble software that works on top of ArcPad so that you can collect that information too. So it's definitely the most versatile. So yes, hopefully that's true. Okay, so we should have our mass planting and our plant center layer checked out. It should say checkout schema only, and then our aerial photograph, or should say background TIFF. Everybody got that? Okay, we'll click next. And now this asks you if you want to be able to take pictures. So a lot of times, some data collectors will have a camera built in, like your cell phone does. And it says, where do you want to store this picture when you take one out in the field? You can set that up in here if you'd like. We don't have any specific picture fields defined in the data model, but you can add that in. There's a number of different ways that you can store images in ArcGIS, and it's more for the next level, of course. But you could definitely select that here if you're interested in taking pictures. Hit the next button, so we'll just skip that screen. And then it asks you what data do you want, and we have it set up. It should say current display extent. That means it's only going to check out the data in the area that we're zoomed into on the screen. And then it says specify a name for the folder. So this is a particularly interesting thing. I usually recommend that people put the date that they're going out to collect data in here. So I usually recommend that people create a checkout for a particular date. So if you're going to go out and collect data today, you put today's date in there, and then tomorrow when you go out, you create another one with tomorrow's date. And that way, if you ever have to go back to your source data, it's really easy to figure out what you were doing. So I'm going to put in today's date, and I like to use the kind of reverse date format. So I put the year first, and then I'll put the month, and then I'll put the day. And this makes it so when you have lots of these checkouts, as you've been collecting data in your garden, when you look at them on your hard drive, they'll all be sorted all in order, and it makes it a lot easier to find stuff. And then I'm also going to put the name of the area we're going to collect data in. So I want to go out to the South Aricacea section, so I'm going to put that in there too. And you can type this in any format that you'd like, but those are probably the two most important bits to keep track of. And you can see it's already put a name in for the map document it's going to create, and that's fine to leave the default in there. But it does ask you where you want to store this, and we're going to make sure it goes on our T drive. It looks like it's already set to go there, so I'm just going to leave it as a default. If it doesn't say T for you, click on the folder icon and select that T drive similarly to the way we've done it before. So you got that all in there. Click Next. And then it gives you a couple different options here. It can zip this data up for you. We don't need to do that, but it can also create this something that will deploy. So it will automatically put it onto your mobile device if you have one connected. Since we don't have mobile devices for everybody today, we're going to skip that step, and we're just going to kind of simulate that on the computer. So it should say create the ArcPad data on this computer now, and that should be it. We'll click Finish. Cross our fingers, cross our eyes, cross our legs, and hope that everything works. And if things go well, it should bring up this window that says Operation Successful, and it should give you a little summary of what got checked out. So we'll click OK on that. And now, if we were going out in the field, we would disconnect our mobile device from the computer, and the data would already be on there if we checked that deploy option there, and we'd be ready to go outside and collect data. So now, picture yourself out in the garden. We're out in the garden with our little data collector. The birds are chirping. There's some kids screaming and pulling out your plant labels. And we're going to go to our Start menu here. We're going to All Programs. Go to ArcGIS. And then you should see a folder for ArcPad 10. And we'll open up ArcPad 10 for Windows. And now, like as I mentioned before, this same exact program runs on the mobile device, and it looks the same, just on a smaller screen. So now we'll, if you get this Welcome to ArcPad window here, does everybody get that? Okay. We'll click on Choose Map to open. And it brings up a list of things that are in our My Documents folder. But since we stored our data on the T drive today, we'll need to navigate to that manually. If you did that deploy to ArcPad option when we were checking data out, and this was on our mobile device, our file will come up automatically in here. But click on the open folder icon. That's two from the right.
How do you get to the ArcPad?
Okay, so the open folder icon is 2 to the right at the bottom there. Click on that, and then it's going to ask you where your map is. And under Computer on the left, hit our T drive. And you should see the folder with the date and section name if you named it that way, or whatever you named it. Double click on that, and inside it there should be our GIS for Public Gardens map. And we'll open that. And it brings up our aerial photograph zoomed into the area that we're working on. Does that work for everybody? No. What did you get? All right, everybody got this view up here? All right, so what we're going to do is we want to collect some new features. So if we had a GPS unit, you could have that GPS unit hooked up to here, and if you got it all turned on through ArcPad, it would show you where you're standing, and it would allow you to collect a point at that particular location. So to do that, you would go to the drawing tools here at the top. So it's the middle icon with the pencil at the top row. Click on that, and it gives you a list of different options. Now, because I don't have a GPS receiver connected, all my GPS capture point options are grayed out. So we can't really go through those today. And depending on what kind of GPS unit you have, there's going to be some different procedures for each one based on that. And generally, a lot of the better GPS receivers that are suited for collecting data in the garden will have their own piece of software that will work with ArcPad. So Trimble is the main example that has a separate piece of software that you activate and get going. And the instructions for that would come with it on how to interface it with ArcPad. But today we're going to act like we are just out there collecting data. We've walked over, or we know where a particular plant is, and we're going to draw some stuff in. So if we do stop editing on here, it gives us a list of layers that we can collect data for, and we'll do a mass planting first. And then we need to select the type of feature that we're going to draw. You can see the point is grayed out because mass plantings are polygons. We have to select the Polygon Tool. So if we click the down arrow under the point, it shows us our list of available options. So we could do a freehand polygon, a circle, ellipse. I always choose to do polygon. And then we could draw in that feature. So assuming that our GPS was working, it would have kind of put us in where we wanted to go, and we could either walk around with our GPS around the outside of this plant, or we could do it the way we're doing it today, and we're just going to draw that plant in. So I'm going to say that this group over here is a mass planting, even though it's really not. We're just going to act like it is. And I'm just going to, similarly to the way that we did it in ArcGIS, or ArcMap, excuse me, we're just going to draw in vertices for this plant, or this group of plants. When you're done, you double click. And I find that double clicking in this program is a little bit weird. You have to do it fast, I think, to be able to finish it. Another option, I think, is you can hit the arrow button at the bottom, and it will also close that polygon for you. And now once you've drawn that in, it automatically brings up the attributes of this polygon that we can enter. So when you're out in the field, you're not going to know what the next ID is for your plant. So you just leave that field blank, and when you get back into the office, you can set this ID to be equal to the object ID, or what the next number is. So you can leave that blank for now. For the mass planting type, you can select how many species are in there. We'll make this easy. We'll just go with 1 today, so homogeneous. And then if it has a name, you could put that in there. You could select the size of this group. I don't think I mentioned this before, but we have some really broad categories of sizes here, and you can adjust these through the way that we added our section name to the domain. You can do that in the same way with this. You can make this whatever you'd like. But we put in really broad categories so that you can estimate the number of individuals you have in your garden really broadly. This is small. We're going to say there's less than 20 of those in there. You can select our section name. That's in here. You can select our survey date as being today. Select our username. And then because the screen is small, we have separate pages of attributes. So you can go to the top and hit page 2, and it gives you the rest of the attributes. And you can fill those in as you want to. Then when you're done, just click on OK, and it finishes our polygon. Are there any questions on that? All right. Now we need to add a plant center to this. So to do that, we have to change our editor to work on the plant center layer. So click on the pencil icon. And you can have more than one layer active for editing at once. Just to make things really simple, it's good to just have one active at a time. So click on mass planting to turn it off, and then click on the pencil again and turn on plant center. This makes it so you don't actually create a plant center point in your mass plantings layer by accident. And now you'll see that the polygon is grayed out, so we'll click on that, and we need to do point for plants. And now this point, we're going to put it inside the polygon, so just place that inside of our polygon, and it brings up our list of attributes similarly to the way that we see it in the office. Now when you're out collecting data in the field, you're not going to know probably you may know the accession number of this. If you have some old field maps out there with you or a list of plants, you may have that, but you may not want to enter that while you're out in the field. So you could leave that blank. Or if before you go out, you know that you're going to be collecting data on this new list of plants and you've already accessioned them, you have a list of accession numbers, you could create a domain for this just like we have for section name and other things like that, and you can put all those values in there so that you can create a drop-down list for this while you're out there to make it really easy. Let's see. So we don't know the accession number, we don't know the qualifier. We're going to leave those blank. Plant center type, we're going to leave it is a plant center. That's fine. The growth habit, we're going to say that these are sort of herbaceous plants, even though I know they're trees. And then family, there's a drop-down list for families if you're interested in categorizing that. But generally, when you're out in the field, you want to do as little as possible. So you do page 2. The one thing that is probably good to fill in is the scientific name of the plant. If you know what it is, fill that in ahead of time. And I'm going to make this another Testis plantii. And you could go to enter as much of this stuff or as little as you want. The condition, now things that you can do while you're out in the field or you can only do while you're out in the field, those are always a good idea. So the condition, you can probably evaluate that while you're out there. And we'll say that these guys are in excellent condition. If it was an individual plant, we might want to measure the circumference or DBH while we're out there. But since it's part of a mass, we went 1 through 0. The name of the section, you can put that in, of course. As far as you want to go with this stuff while you're out there is good. The survey date, always want to fill that in. And the username, always want to fill that in. And now, as you keep going past all these tabs at the top here, you'll see that we have some other tabs on here. So the way that the data model is set up is we have a lot of information that's related to plant centers. So we have information on plant maintenance. If you click on this tab, we can add information about plant maintenance. So if we're going out there to do some maintenance, we could enter information on this by clicking this Add button, and it'll create a record that we can enter information. So right now I want to create a work order for this guy. We've discovered that he's got a few problems, so we've clicked on the plus button. It brings up this window. Can enter what type of maintenance are we actually, from this thing here, you can stretch this out so you can see what these fields are. So maintenance record type, is it a work order or is it maintenance history? So after we've completed a work order, we would change this to maintenance history so we can keep track of all the things that have been done to this plant. But we're going to do work order, and the type is, what type is it? Well, it needs some pest control. It's got definitely some kind of infestation going, so we'll put that in there. How high of a priority is this work order? You can click on this and say very high, because these bugs look like they're going to kill this thing. The date of this particular maintenance or the work order is today, so we'll put that in there. A username, that's going to be me. Enter that in there. And then you can put in a description for what actually needs to be done. So I might say, what type of infestation does this have? Where is it located on the plant? Things like that. Anything that whoever's going to go out and work on this can enter in there. And if you have other things that you or your organization care about collecting or associating with this work order, you can add those fields in ArcMap or ArcCatalog. Any questions on that? So when you're done with this maintenance or work order record, click on the arrow and it goes back in there and it enters that information in and it's associated with that plant. Other things, we have some other tables associated with that. A cool one is this tree hazard health table. We've set up some stuff to do full assessment on the hazard and hazards posed by particular trees or plants, and health condition assessment. And you could add a record for this, and this generally requires a certified arborist to be able to assess this information, but once you've collected it, things like obstructions that are associated with the plant, other insect infestations, whether it's got any widowmaker branches on it, things like that, we have all that stuff in here. And then that public garden toolbox I showed you at the very beginning of the class that we were having some problems with, wasn't showing up, that has some tools in there that will automatically calculate a condition rating and a hazard rating of these trees based on the information you collect. So that's some really neat stuff. And those are, right now, I think all the tables, extra tables that are associated with that. So we're all set here, so we're going to press the green OK button, and then we're good to go.
Now, can you end up exporting, do a query for trees that are in very bad health or need attention, where you can then forward that on to?
Definitely, yes. So once you've collected all of the plant hazard and health information on those plants, you can do in ArcGIS, there is a, you can select features by a particular attribute. So if you want to select all the plants that are, very hazardous and have a high priority, you can select all of those and then do an export and email that to, whoever would be in charge of taking care of that. So
along the same lines, if you wanted a map of all your magnolias?
Yeah, same thing. You could select those and have those be the only things that show up on your screen, and then make a map of just that. Any other questions on that? Okay, so now we're done here for now. Is everybody feeling okay about the ArcPad piece? Do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you wanted to customize the way the form would show up.
Yeah, there is a number of ways to customize your data entry forms. We've gone with just the basic ones just because it's a lot simpler to distribute to other people. But you can customize so that you only see certain fields while you're out there. That's really easy to do. Or you can also make it so that it walks you through the data collection process in a very organized way. So you click on one thing and then it says, all right, you go to this. And there's a number of different things you can do to make that simpler for people who may be less savvy. You can set it up so people who are going to go out there who don't have a lot of technical skill or GIS experience can operate this thing. with little work. But it does require, most of the customizations require a fair amount of programming experience. So, any other questions? All right. So, okay, we're all done here. So we want to stop editing. So click the pencil icon, and then click on Plant Center. So now that we're not editing anymore. And now, just like ArcMap, you can save this map to look the way that it is, but unless you've zoomed into a particular location, it's going to look like this even if you don't save. So the data is automatically saved. You don't have to worry about saving the data. So we're all done here, so I'm just going to exit. Click the icon in the lower left, or the upper left, hit exit. And then we're out. And if you've closed ArcMap, you want to open that back up. I've left it open. Has anyone close it? Okay, good. Okay, so now we're back in ArcMap, and we want to bring in the changes that we made out in the field. Now, I tried this last night, and it didn't work for me, but I tried it a little while ago, and it did work, so it could go either way. So I'm just putting that disclaimer out there. So on the ArcPad Manager, or Data Manager toolbar, on the second to the right button is Get Data from ArcPad. Click on that. And then it says choose the ArcPad AXF files you want to check in. And to do that, we're going to add one by hitting the green plus icon there on the upper right. And then we're going to navigate to our T drive. And then the folder that we created, mine's got today's date plus the error KCE section on it. And then click the only file that shows up in there. Click open. And then it adds the checkout information to this list, and it shows us that the Plant Center feature classes has one feature added, and the plant maintenance table that we entered our work order in has got one thing added to it, and our mass planting has got one in that added. So we'll check both of those things, or hit the select all button, and then hit check in, and it gives you a warning that you're checking in data that is not in an edit session. So by not being in an edit session, it's saying that if you're going to check this data in, it's kind of permanent. It's going to throw it in there. It won't give you the option to undo. So if you want the option to undo, you would hit no to this, close this out, and start an edit session, which is probably a good idea. So we'll go ahead and do that. So I'm going to hit cancel, cancel again, and then simply go to the editor toolbar, hit start editing. And now I'm going to hit the Get Data from ArcPad button again. Hit the green plus icon again. It should navigate right back to where we were. So we can select our GIS for Public Gardens. Hit OK. Hit Select All. And then hit Check In. Now it doesn't give us that obnoxious warning. And then we'll hit Yes, are you sure? And it is thinking about it. Again, I'm crossing my eyes, legs, toes, fingers. And it says that looks like everything works. It says 1 out of 1 files were processed. That's good. Hit OK. And now it says that 0 features are left in these things that haven't been added. So that's good. That means that it should have worked. And we can hit cancel to finish this job here. And now, if we scroll over to the area we're working in, we should see the mass planting and the plant center that we collected while we were out there. Did that work for everybody? Yes. No?
I lost my toolbar, so
Okay.
sorry, I got stuck behind that for a second. This one, yeah.
And then that.
Right.
And then go to T. And the top folder. Yeah, that one. Hit select all. And then check.
Okay.
Yeah, that should work. All right. So now did that work for everybody? Good. Glad to hear it. Okay, so now we might want to go through, we didn't really enter all the information we're out in the field, so after you collect data and you check it in, it's a good idea to kind of go through and quality control check it. Make sure that everything you want in there is filled in. A lot of times when you're collecting data out in the field, I highly recommend that people keep a paper map to kind of keep track of what you're doing out there. So if you can kind of draw things in and label them really quickly just to kind of keep track of that, you say, hey, we've mapped this, that's good. You can then compare it when you get back into the office to that paper map and make sure that things showed up in the right location and that you got it. So that's always a good thing to do. But let's see. What we want to do is make sure that we have our attributes right. So I'm going to click on our mass planting here. And you'll see that it selected everything basically that was under our cursor at this point. And this is one of those things where the layer selectability becomes important. So there's two different ways that I know of that you can change this. First, what you want to do is probably clear these out because we don't want all these selected. So hit the Clear Selected Features button. And then you can do one of two things. If you just want to work with mass plantings, you can right-click on it and go to Selection and say, make this the only selectable layer. That way, when I click on it, it just gets that guy. The other thing you can do is that List by Selection option under Table of Contents. This lets you do it. It's a little bit more complicated to select the right thing, but you can basically toggle a layer on and off in here if you'd like to. Okay, so now we've got our mass planting selected. We'll open the attributes for it. And under it, all of our attributes are filled in. Oh, but we didn't fill in our mass planting ID while we're out there, so this is a good time to do that. And now our object ID field is there for us to see, so we can type in 2 for that guy. And anything else we might want to fill in, we can do that now, but I think we're pretty good with just putting in that ID. Now I want to check the plant center that's associated with this guy. So to do that, we need to make plant center our selectable layer. So I'm going to right-click on plant center, go to Selection, and you make this the only selectable layer. And now I'm just going to click on that plant center, and that brings up our attributes on that. And now we didn't fill in the ID number while we're out there, the accession number, but we've since found out that this plant has an accession number of 135-2011 and a qualifier of D, so I'll fill those in. And then based on that, we'll fill in our plant center ID as 135-2011-D. And now you might want to fill in the rest of the taxonomic information on this. You could fill in the genus field if you wanted to. You could fill in the species field. And you don't have to fill in any of this stuff, but it's a good idea. The most important thing, though, that we do want to fill in is the mass planting ID. Now that we know what the ID number of that mass planting is, we can connect those together by entering that 2 in there. And now if we select our mass planting, we first have to change it back to being selectable. So go right-click, Selection, make this the only selectable layer. Now, when I click on the mass planting up in the upper right-hand corner, we should see now that our plant center is now associated with our mass planting. So that's pretty handy. Are there any questions on that process? All right. Okay, so now that we've got our edits, we've updated all of our attributes. Great time to save edits. I'm actually going to stop editing. Stop editing and say yes, save my edits, and we're good to go. And now we can take a quick break.